Every time you walk into a stinky public bathroom, you are inhaling tiny bits of strange people's fecal matter. Right in your mouth. What is a disturbing fact you wish you could unlearn? There's a type of crayfish that farms sea stars by cutting all their water legs off and eating its arms all the way to the center, but leaving the center intact. It then feeds the sea star with kelp to keep it alive so it regenerates, and then repeats the process. When the Challenger exploded in 1986, the astronauts didn't die from the explosion. Nor did they die from depressurization as NASA has initially claimed. There is some evidence they turned on their personal oxygen supply. They died from impact when they hit the surface of the Atlantic Ocean. They were in free fall for 2.5 minutes. Not only that, but NASA was fully aware of the dangers of the launch. Engineers at NASA warned officials time and time again that the fuel O-ring would fail if they launched at such a low temperature. It was pretty frigid the day of the launch, and they ignored them, just because they didn't want to have to push back the launch date. Parrots often bond with a keeper, from their perspective, as a lifelong romantic partner. If the person dies or the parrot is displaced, they can go into massive depression and pluck out their own feathers. Recently heard of a woman dying of cancer. She had a parrot, and while she was on hospice the bird would visit just like any other family member, saying goodbye. They are extremely intelligent, and if possible this is the ideal way to help a bird have the best chance at handling the death. They grieve and understand what's happening. The woman's parrot was adopted by a family member. I learned on Reddit that a woodpecker will tap enough to break into a baby bird's skull and slurp up their brains. In most cases when a parasite gets into the brain they don't remove it. They just kill it with Taenia solium, then just let the body calcify. Depending on how it enters the body you can end up with a 7M intestinal parasite, or a cyst in various organs such as the liver, the brain or muscles. That's why growing up nobody I knew ate meat of any kind anything less than medium well. There are other parasites in fish that cause serious illness. In countries where raw fish consumption is common, intestinal blockages from parasites happen relatively frequently. The Chiquita Banana Company colluded with the CIA to overthrow the democratically elected government of Guatemala, leading to a civil war that lasted 46 years and directly contributed to the ongoing migrant crisis at the border. They called it Operation PB Success. They also blocked a 9/11 victims bill because it would have made it so victims of terrorism could sue companies or countries that funded said terrorists. You see where this is going. Chiquita funded militant groups in Colombia for decades. They claimed it was protection money, but they also gave the militants a list of union leaders for them to kill. My biology teacher had a Q&A session before Christmas, and one student asked if it's possible to be allergic to your own blood. Unfortunately you can. Just imagine your own immune system destroying your red blood cells, constant hemorrhaging, constantly feeling cold and out of breath. When we got back from winter break we saw a new face in class, a former student of my bio teacher who just so happened to have this disease, and we spent the whole class asking questions. I feel so bad for the guy, but thankfully the medicine available to suppress the immune system has made his life bearable. The fact that dogs like squeaky toys because it sounds like their prey crying out in pain. In some states in the USA, particularly Nevada, your doctor can basically sell you to a company. If you're a senior with an untrustworthy doctor, they can throw memory loss, hysteria, confusion, etc. on a piece of paper and hand it over to a company. This company can claim guardianship over you without you ever meeting or hearing of them. And they can take you out of your house, sell your house and all of your belongings, put you in a nursing home and have full control over your finances. They can force you to take medication every day for the rest of your life that make you confused and unable to think clearly, until you die. They can buy your family from visiting you as well. And it's all 100% legal. Before you even find out it's happened to you, there's already been a court hearing where the judge is persuaded into signing your life into some stranger's hands based on your doctor's false claims. Yogurt is useful for decomposing dead bodies, since it's already got concentrated and pre-cultured bacteria. Dolphins are not automatic air breathers like we humans are. Every breath is a conscious effort. If life becomes too unbearable, the dolphins just take a breath and they sink to the bottom. They don't take the next breath. Surgeons used to operate on infants without anesthesia, including open-heart surgery. They have stopped this, however. In the 1980s, the South Korean government murdered 200,000 girls, boys, adults, and families with zero basis or even a trial. The Bodo League massacre, and they continue to cover it up today and hope the world doesn't find out. Basically, if you were thought to be a communist or North Korean supporter during the Korean War, you were killed. Really, no one got a trial or anything either. People often don't realize that South Korea only became a full democracy within the last 30 years. Before that, it was a military dictatorship not entirely unlike its northern counterpart, just one that was an ally of the West instead of an antagonist. There's such a thing as 4th, 5th, and 6th degree burns. 4th degree means all the layers of skin at the burn site are gone. 5th degree means the muscle under the skin is damaged. 6th degree is literally down to the bone. Yeah. I was a lot happier thinking 3rd degree was the worst. Blobfish. In their natural environment, they are actually not that ugly looking. The reason they look so horrific in all those pictures is because their natural environment is deep beneath the ocean's surface, and when they are caught they are exposed to catastrophic decompression as they are reeled to the surface. They are depicted as pink, bloated, and slimy. Poor guys are normally grey, matte, and wide like a puffer fish. There was a time in England where you could feed your pet to the lions in a zoo to avoid paying. They closed the monkey house in the late 1700s. It was set up like a normal house with furniture and visitors could come into the room with monkeys. They closed on order of the king after a monkey ripped a boy's leg off in a tragic accident. Only about 50% of the cells in your body are you. The rest are microbes that exist as part of your microbiome. In terms of mass, however, almost all of that is your own cells. Eukaryotic cells tend to be absolutely massive compared to prokaryotic ones. There are corpses on Mount Everest which are used as waypoints. Hey look! There is no limbs derg, I guess we're going the right way. People don't realize any mistake is a death sentence. One of the bodies up there is due to a climber tearing her suit and exposing her to the cold wind. In any serious mountaineering, the vast majority of accidents happen on the way down. In high-altitude climbing, it's probably 80+% of deaths happen due to mistakes on the descent. Above 8,000 meters is the zone of death, where your body slowly dies due to not getting enough oxygen because the air is so thin. Supplemental oxygen helps a lot. Mostly helps your hands and feet warm up because more blood goes there when the body is not trying to conserve oxygen as much. Every time you walk into a stinky public bathroom, you are inhaling tiny bits of strange people's fecal matter. Right in your mouth. Some people who fell or jumped from the Twin Towers hit the ground at nearly 120 miles per hour. You need to fall for about 12 seconds to hit terminal velocity of 120 miles per hour. This requires for 50 m of height to achieve. In order to hit that speed, you would have needed to have jumped from pretty much the top, within the top 100 m, anyways. The comfort women enslaved by the Imperial Japanese Army during World War II. Japan still hasn't apologized to Korea, the Philippines, or the other countries they occupied at the time for kidnapping and pretty much turning these young girls into slaves for soldiers to brutalize from 1932 to 1945, and are currently trying to silence the comfort women who survived and are still alive and or their descendants. Some schools in Japan are still trying to paint it like the women were willing participants. Most of the time, these girls were told they could come work in a factory, usually making clothes or uniforms. In Japan, then sold into slavery to become comfort women. Your face has tiny microorganisms. The face mites. They live in hair pores and eat the sebum. At night, they go to the surface and woohoo, laying eggs in the pore. These are not to be confused with the bacteria that cause acne. They actually help regulate the output of sebum in your face. Good to know these worms are helping out. But now I'm aware of the multiple microscopic parties. There are these things in space called gamma-ray bursts that are created when neutron stars collide and create black holes. They travel at the speed of light, and if they hit Earth would most likely cause a mass extinction of humans. They are undetectable and could strike at any moment. Thanks for listening to TTS Central. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, it truly helps out.